So welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and today we're going to talk about pressure washers, how to use pressure washers, maintenance on them, and then how to take care of them when we're all done with it. So stay tuned. Alright, so welcome back. What we're talking today about is the differences in pressure washers. Not all pressure washers are alike. And one of the big things is how many PSI or pounds per square inch of pressure is coming out your wand when you're spraying. The higher the PSI, the more pressure you're getting when you're trying to get stuff cleaned up. Alright, so you basically have your unit, and then on the bottom, this is your pump. And on the bottom of your pump, this is a sealed unit. We sell a lot of these with guys cracking them and stuff. If you have to replace yours, and because I get asked this question a lot, how do I put oil in it? They come already sealed with oil, so don't worry about that. All you have to do is just bolt it on and go. But this side is where your high pressure hose is going to thread onto. And if you notice, on some models, they have a nipple that comes off with a plastic hose that you can attach to. And that's for adding your soaps and your degreasers. Some models don't have that. So if you plan on using soap and degreasers to kind of help cut away the grime and grease and all that, make sure that it has a nipple with a hose so that you can add that to it. And this simply just, when it's sitting there, you can have a gallon jug of degreaser and just stick it in there, and it will, you know, flow right through it and come out your high pressure hose when you're spraying it. So the components of a pressure washer are basically, you have the unit and you have the engine, whatever it is, whether it be electric, gas, diesel, LP. They come in all different shapes and sizes. And then you have your high pressure hose. And most of them are 30 foot in length. You can get extensions if you need to go farther away from the pump and stuff. And then you also have different flavors. Like this is the wand that came with this pressure washer here. You know, you'd simply attach your other side here, and then you're ready to go. And this here has got a safety feature where you have to push it in to squeeze it. With these units, you also have different sized orifices for spraying. Some are more of a bead where it's tight, where others are fanned out. And a lot of times you'll get those right with your units. And on this pressure washer, they're right here. They usually snap right in. We sell these as well. Home Light, I think they sell them by the 5-pack for their units. But this is the one that came with it. Now, you can add extensions. We sell the extensions where you just thread them on and just keep going so it gets farther and farther. You've got different style wands. You know, this one's set up so that you can put the degreaser here and then your high pressure hose there, so that when you're spraying, it's sucking the degreaser here instead of down here. So if it's not down here, it doesn't mean you can't use the degreaser with it, because if you buy the correct wand, you can attach the degreaser to it. And then they come even in little guys, you know, that you just take this and you can add attachments for lengths that you want to go. You can keep going and going. But the big thing is that the biggest difference when it comes right down to it is how many PSI you're going to need. And if you're just using it around the house, you don't need a lot. I mean, let me see what this unit here. This is a 2500 PSI. And I know this because it says it right here, 2500 PSI max. That's where it's rated for. Now, as far as using it, you know, if you got the gas engine, check the oil every time, of course. Don't want to have fuel in there all the time, but make sure you got fuel, you got oil, you got the choke, everything else. But one of the things that I see a lot of homeowners do, and if you want your unit to last longer, is once you have everything hooked up, you've got your hose hooked to this, and then you put your garden hose to the other side. Before you start this beast up, take your wand and just pull the trigger. And you wait for the water, just regular water pressure, to come out. And why do you need to do that? Well, that tells me that the pump is full of water, so it's not running dry. And that will save on longevity for the unit by doing that. The other misconception that we hear a lot is, you know, a contractor taking and buying one of these units and then putting a guy on a job, let's say vinyl siding on a house, and it's a big house, and they go ahead and they hook it up, and they spend half, 3/4 of the day with that running the full time, pressure washing the house, and then all of a sudden the pump stops working. You have the homeowner's brand, and then you have the commercial people's brand. You know, it's just kind of like chainsaws. You have the homeowners, and then you have the Pro Series. Pro Series is a lot heavier duty. Same thing with your generators. You have the homeowners, which they don't expect you to use that a lot, and then you have the top of the line, the better one, that's extended run, that if you're off grid, you're not going to take your generator out. Because what we found is that especially with the generators, we have a lot of guys that are off grid, is they would go to Lowe's and buy a Champion, or Walmart, buy a Champion, you know, generator, and then go up there and they would run it off grid as their main primary source. And I talked with one of the technicians for Champion at one time, and he said they figured around 600 to 700 hours total over the lifetime of the unit that they expected that would be the max for it to run. And what was happening were these off-grid people were using their Champion generators and just wearing them out because they weren't built for that steady, continuous use. These are the same way. These are not built for steady, continuous use. They're made for the homeowner, whether it be washing their car quick. Be careful with pressure in your car and paint, but you know, cleaning up the lawnmower decks and this and that. But if you're going to take on where you're doing vinyl siding on a regular basis, or you're job to job, or you're doing on big pressure washing jobs, the ones that you find at Lowe's, Home Depot, and those are not the ones you want. You need to find a dealer that deals strictly with the contractor series, and that's the upstep elevated pressure washer. And a lot of those units are self-contained, and they're big. The ones that have the heat, which are called basically a steam jetting, is you can have diesel, LP, but it's got a container for water, and it heats that water before it comes through their system. But for the contractor series, I mean, like this one here probably sets you back $300. Whereas the contractor series The ones that they buy are 11 to 15,000. That's the difference, because they want something that's going to last. For the homeowner, this is great, but if you're going to go do the vinyl siding on your house, don't do it all at once. Do half of it today, then half of it tomorrow, or do a quarter of it, let it sit for 6 hours, go out and do another quarter, so that you're giving the pump a chance to cool down, because it will heat up just from the constant churning in there. And it's not good with these units as well to have them sit there and just run without pressure coming out. It's all right, you know, if you start it up and then you're doing this or doing that real quick, but you don't want to leave it running with the pressure and everything there. It's got a bypass, but it's heating up while sitting there. So when you get ready to use it, start it up. If you're not quite ready to use it, then wait until you're ready to use it. Now, maintenance on these. They're low maintenance. Your Contractor Series, I don't have one here to show you, but you do have maintenance options on those. The biggest thing with these is storage in the fall of the year. You can drain the gas tank, or you can have some stable. With these, the biggest issue I see, just slide this, is no matter what, you're never going to get all the water out of here. Now, they do sell homemade cells. It's a can that you can just thread right on, and it's like an antifreeze. And that would be the only option I would use, and leave it out in the cold. If you have the ability to store it inside where it's a heated garage or down in the basement, even better, you know, someplace that it's not going to freeze. Because these aluminum housings are not built for where she'll freeze up and crack, and then you're screwed basically, because you're going to spend another $100+ trying to buy another pump for the bottom of it. So I hope that helps kind of clear up, you know, how and when to use these, as far as the uses, the different attachments that you can get with it, the different wand ends for, you know, and it tells you on the thing what color goes to which wand. But they're pretty simplistic in that, you know, depending on how much PSI you're going to need, the higher the PSI, the bigger the engine normally, the bigger the pump on the unit. You know, kind of figure out. When I have customers come to me and say, well, which one should I buy? The first question for me is, what are you going to use it for? And how are you going to use it, and how often are you going to use it? And a lot of times, like Claude, he has got a little electric one that he plugs in up to his house and just runs his garden hose. And he uses it for just kind of cleaning the lawn tractor off and miscellaneous this and that. But it wouldn't stand up down here at the shop where we get a lawnmower in, or tractors, and we pressure wash them before we get ready to use them, before we get ready to work on them per se. You can go crazy with the PSI, but you know, I would recommend for a normal homeowner, 2,500 PSI is a good number. And you know, just, I like to, in the fall of the year, I like to take everything apart. So I know all my hoses are drained out. I know that whatever water here where the hoses would attach to have drained. And then I store them all together, of course, because it's got a spot on the back where you can wind up the hose. But I know I'm missing a few things, and I got people on the channel that will help me with this. But it's pretty simplistic. I mean, don't overthink when it comes to the pressure washer. If you're going to use it, when you get ready to use it, just make sure that you have water coming out the end before you start the engine, so that you know that the pump's got water in it. Just make that a habit. So if you got any questions, comments, I do respond to them all, and I greatly appreciate, everybody that takes part in the conversation. And on that note, we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks so much for watching.